Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today we're here to celebrate The Bear and the Bird making their way onto the Switch. Now, it's already cool enough that The Bear and the Bird, somewhere in 3D space, I'm going to point to it, they got an amiibo figure and a slot in Smash Brothers, but now I can play their first adventure wherever I want, provided there's internet. So, I don't know. It's just kind of mind blowing because Microsoft owns the Bear and Bird, and yet they gave permission for it to be on the Switch, and it makes me hopeful that maybe we'll have a Banjo remake on the Switch. Highly doubt it, but you never know. I mean, I don't think any of us would have predicted the Bear and Bird in Smash, besides me, who was faithfully waiting for them ever since Brawl's days. But talking about predictions for Smash will come in another video. For today's video, we're here to discuss the September 2021 Nintendo Direct and all of my particular highlights. So if there's a game that you liked that's not on here, well, I guess we can talk about it somewhere else, but I'm particularly going to talk about the games that I liked. So this will give you a bit of insight into my personal preferences. So I have 8 news articles from the Direct that I'm here to talk about, and hopefully I can get through them pretty quickly, although I can be a bit of a fanboy at times, so we'll see. So the first item that they announced that I was really excited about was more information on Mario Party Superstars. Admittedly, I didn't really need all of that information. I was kind of just like, okay, I'm already convinced that I'm going to rent it. But it was nice to be able to get a preview of the nostalgia trip I was going on with what kind of boards they were going to have. So when they mentioned the 5 boards that were coming, I've played all the N64 Mario parties, and I'd like to say I beat all of them too. So I could tell right off the bat where all of them were from. So they have Woody Woods, which is from Mario Party 3, Spaceland and Horrorland from Mario Party 2, and then Peach's Birthday Cake and Yoshi's Tropical Island from Mario Party 1. Now, I'm particularly fond of Peach's Birthday Cake because that was just such a cool concept, and it had really nice music, and I feel like with the jump to HD, they can really make the cake look as delicious as it was supposed to be on the Nintendo 64. Not only that, but I'm pretty sure the inspiration for that was the credit scene of Super Mario 64, where you have this almost photorealistic cake in the background, and they made a whole board out of it. Honestly, Nintendo, where are more cool ideas like these? And then they showed off a couple more mini games. I'm personally going to hold my breath for the mini games because those are very subjective. Like, some people thought that the mini games in Mario Party the Top 100 were terrible because they had those rotating the stick mini games. So hopefully they've learned their lesson from that and will, even if they do include those, like that annoying rowboat mini game in Mario Party 1, they'll make it button mashing instead. Although I don't particularly like those mini games either, but they're better than the stick rotating ones because I got those really annoying blisters back in the day, and I feel you can tell who the old-fashioned ones were from the non-gamers. Next up is the DLC for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Thankfully, I already bought the expansion pass, so now I just gotta wait for my game to update. This next DLC wave is called Guardian of Remembrance. Again, this was something I didn't need convincing because I already wanted it. But it was nice to see that Robbie and Pura are finally going to be playable characters. Like, why did it take them this long? But I guess that's just the nature of DLC, is we have to be willing to live in an era where games just aren't made complete nowadays. And then hopefully it's going to have a lot more story than the previous expansion, which was just more stuff to do. Because it would be really nice to find out, like, more information about the hidden lore, because a lot of people were a little bit disappointed by the story. And I'm hoping that they'll, well, to avoid spoiling too much, that they'll make it a little bit more like what we expected from a prequel to Breath of the Wild, as opposed to the twist that shall not be named. Kirby and the Forgotten Land was the next highlight. I mean, I plan on renting this because Kirby and I have a bit of a love-hate relationship, but it'll be nice to finally see a Kirby game in 3D. Now, I know Kirby Air Ride was in 3D, but that was a spin-off. Kirby's Blast was in top-down, but that was also a spin-off. So it's going to be nice to see a full-blown Kirby experience in the third dimension. Admittedly, it seems like it's still going to have a lot of the tropes of main Kirby games, which is why I'm renting it, because it's going to have to do a lot to beat Kirby Superstar, but I particularly like games that let me explore, and it looks like it's going to be a combination of linear stages like Super Mario Galaxy, but also have the more open world elements like Mario Odyssey. So that's going to be fun. Next up was the direct for Animal Crossing New Horizons. I kind of gave up on New Horizons a while ago, but I still think the direct could be interesting. It could show off some really cool stuff that will get me back into the game. I mean, if they reveal that there's a story mode coming up, I think that'll be what gets me back into it. But they showed off that the Roost is finally coming back. I mean, the Roost has been around since Animal Crossing Wild World, so I don't know why it took them so darn long, but better late than never, right? And I hope that they actually improve the Roost. From what I heard, New Leaf did an adequate job, but I was so used to how it was in Wild World, where you'd just go in and you'd order some coffee, and the coffee would literally do nothing. It was just an excuse to try to get Brewster to actually open up to you, because he was very shy and antisocial at first, and I was kind of just like, I kind of want the coffee to do something. Like, don't just drink it and be done with it. So here's hoping that they really expand upon the functionality of the Roost. Next up is Triangle Strategy. Oh my gosh, that's such a bad name. I feel like that's the name of a maneuver that you would do in Fire Emblem, but this is the name of the game. That would be like if I were to call Fire Emblem Three Houses Fire Emblem Gambit Strike. Actually, that's not half bad. But either way, it just, I don't know, it sounds like a maneuver in the game that they're naming after the game. Again, this seems to be a pattern with this direct, is I was already going to rent this because I'm a huge fan of Fire Emblem, and it seems like it's a combination of that and the Final Fantasy Tactics gameplay, but with decision making that'll affect the storyline, which is great because we definitely need more of those. And it looks like it's going to have orchestral music and voice acting, and the graphics actually look really nice. I wanted to get into Octopath Traveler, but ugh, that battle system. So, since this one is closer to Fire Emblem, I think I'm going to really like it. Next up is Metroid Dread. I'm a broken record at this point. They are showing off so much of the game. A lot of the people that are more into Metroid are really kind of upset at Nintendo because they're like, I don't want to be spoiled with all of this. Like, just let us go in as blind as possible. And Nintendo's just like, no, we got to keep pushing this game. And I get it. Their reasoning is that Metroid's reputation has been very, very tarnished over the years. Like, Nintendo probably wants to avoid the disasters of Metroid Other M and Federation Force and get people back on the right track by showing them what they wanted. Now, I'm not particularly a Metroid fan. In case you guys haven't noticed, I've only reviewed one Metroid game on my channel, and that was Other M, and that was my best friend helping out with me. So, this will be my first Metroid game that I've actually beaten, if I can get through this. I had a bit of trouble with Samus Returns, so hopefully they'll have a more accessible difficulty for those of us that aren't used to Metroidvanias. Because man, that game looks like it's going to be pretty hard, but hopefully there will be some accessibility. Like from what I've heard, Zero Mission had a lot of that, so maybe that'll get me interested in dusting off my Wii U Virtual Console and getting some of the old Metroid games. Next up, we have the N64 and Genesis games coming to Switch Online. Now, I already mentioned in the intro that I'm beyond stoked that Banjo-Kazooie was included in the list of upcoming games, but the announcement itself was also pretty exciting on its own. I really like Sonic games, so being able to have potentially Sonic 3 and Knuckles on the go is pretty cool because that game has hardly ever been ported. If they include the Michael Jackson tracks, that'll be even cooler because I'm pretty sure that's the main reason why it's taken so darn long for Sonic 3 and Knuckles to be ported. That wasn't included in the upcoming list, but one can always hope. And then the N64 games they showed off were they had Yoshi's Story, which, man, I haven't played that in so many years. Dr. Mario 64, I played a little bit of that, didn't like it at the time, but I've since grown to appreciate Dr. Mario a lot more. From what I've heard, it looks like it's going to be even better than Miracle Cure because it has a story mode. Why don't more games have story modes? Then F-Zero X. I've been meaning to play that on my Nintendo 64, but I kept putting it off. But now that it's on the Switch, that'll be better because I can play it wherever I want instead of being confined to the TV. Then they showed off Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Man, my allergies are really getting to me today. Now, I've kind of had a bit of a love-hate relationship with the N64 Zeldas for a while. Like, I was mind-blown by them at the time, and I still kind of am, looking back at, like, these were the earliest adventure games, but at the same time, they've also had some pretty poor aging moments. But hopefully my nostalgia will get the better of me and I'll just go back to when I first encountered Ocarina of Time and was like, dang, I didn't know Nintendo 64 games were capable of this. And maybe it'll give me an excuse to have footage because Majora's Mask 3D was the very first game I reviewed on my YouTube channel. But I didn't have footage back then and I still don't have a way of capturing 3DS footage. So if I can at least review the N64 game, I can be like, this is going full circle. Because this will be the original game of my first review. So I'm a little bit giddy. And there's more that I haven't even talked about yet. Like they mentioned Sin and Punishment, which kind of reminds me of Kid Icarus Uprising. Star Fox 64, I played the 3DS remake. But then I had technical difficulties with my review, so it never ended up getting published. So hopefully this will be like rectifying that error. And so the final announcement was that Deltarune Chapter 2 was coming to the Switch. This is a weird announcement because it was only like a week after it came to PC. So I don't know, was Toby like, hey, let's make it part of a Nintendo Direct and let's troll the Switch players into not announcing it right away? That was a bit weird, but I ended up having a good time with Deltarune. I reviewed it already, so yeah, this video is a bit late to come out. And I even beat the secret boss on the very first try, which is more than what I can say for Jevil. So with that, that about concludes what I liked about the Direct. Was there something that was announced in the Direct that you liked that I didn't mention? Are you fans of Splatoon 3 or Bayonetta 3? Lots of threes here. Let me know in the comment section, and let me know if you're also pumped for the Bear and Bird being on Switch. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and duh! Bye!